Hey there, this is a contest entry video, but it's going to be kind of more than that. Because after I watched this contest entry, this contest video, I went back and I watched the video before it. And it was Adrift in the Outback, an exploration of Wake and Fright. Wake and Fright is a movie that I looked at when I was going through the Eureka stuff, but I hadn't really known much about it. And now I'm really glad I did. It was made the same year that I was born, 1971, and the video is done by James Merchant. And before I get into the contest entry, I gotta say that if you haven't checked out James Merchant's videos, and I know that a lot of you will go back and you check out the contest video and you reply to the contest, and that's great and all, but go back to the video before that, Adrift in the Outback, an exploration of Wake and Fright, 1971. It's an incredible overview and review of this film. So good, in fact, that when my better half came into the room, she thought that I was watching something that came off of a DVD or Blu-ray, a feature from a DVD or Blu-ray itself. That's how good and professional this thing looks. So, James, that is an amazing job. Now for the harder one, which is the contest entry. And you wanted me to say a movie that I didn't expect to be very good, or I didn't expect much of, or it just changed my view on certain things. Well, there are a few, but for me, for right now, I'm going to stick in the genre that I work with a lot, and that's the horror genre. I think I'm going to give you a couple, because there are different movies at different times in my life that I was opened up to, that I didn't expect much of. There are simple ones, like the first time I watched High Tension. I was an author at the time. I was writing a film script, and I had to change the last 20 pages because it was too similar to the ending of that film. But I think you want something that kind of awakened me in a different way. So in that case, one of the films that I'd found, actually there were two, and they were in the same day. I had picked up two films that day, and I hadn't heard or read anything about them. At the time, I had gotten out of reading, like in magazines and stuff like that, for a while, and I'd been working a lot. So when I went to rent or buy a movie at that point, it was pretty much always a blind buy. I wasn't online a lot, and I wasn't checking websites or reading stuff, so things that may have been known to other people at the time weren't known to me. Life was just too hectic. And I picked up the movie Martyrs, and to double feature it, because I knew it was a French film. I'd seen another film that was French called Inside at the store at the same time. So I ended up picking them both up, thinking that, they might be okay. I hadn't heard a lot about them, and I was kind of worried that one of them was going to be just the basic torture porn films, which I'm really not a fan of. Now, by the time I'd finished watching Martyrs, and my son actually had watched Martyrs just around the same time, it was a huge, there's a huge, almost like a month-long conversation that was ongoing about the film, about the ending especially, about what it meant not just on terms of, like the film itself, but on religion and on the thoughts of martyrdom. And I thought at one point about writing a kind of an essay, kind of discussing it a bit more. But at the end of the day, I think over the next month or so, I talked it out so much with friends that I'd seen and shown other people the movie. It was just one of those movies that even if you don't like those type of movies, it's really worth seeing, because it brings about questions. And anytime that a movie does that in a legit way, I gotta say it awakens something in me that I really enjoy. Now, Inside was a French film, and it was very different, because I had been watching my favorite franchise of all time start to go downhill, which was Halloween, when Rob Zombie took it over. And Inside was just such a brilliantly made, suspenseful film that gave me the feeling that I felt the first time I watched Halloween back in the day. it gave me that sense of like that knot in the stomach, that sense of dread that I hadn't had in a long time. It was really something that was special to me, something that and ironically, do you know, to this day, I actually do not own either one of these films on any format. I have not been able to find them. I rented them back in the day when video stores were prevalent around here. Well, not around here, but actually in Corner Brook, where I lived before. But have never actually owned either one of these films, which is a sad fact because I know that at least one of them is on Blu-ray. Inside, however, I have never seen on DVD or Blu-ray anywhere within my province, except for that one rental copy. As for anything else outside of that I really liked, I had stayed away from my Criterion stuff because basically most of the time, if you're getting something and it has the name Criterion on it, you kind of know it's going to be something that's big anyway. Kind of like Eureka over there in the UK, or the Arrow Academy ones. Films from them that I'd seen before though, stuff like God, it's so hard to think now what really, and was there anything that really changed me as a film goer? There are so many things that changed me, so many things. I'm very passionate about film. One of the first films I saw that gripped me was actually a very cheesy, very soapy film with Joan Crawford and John Garfield called Humoresque. For some reason, that movie just stuck with me, and I watched it over and over and over again. It was very much just a melodrama, and a pretty by-the-numbers type of thing. But something about the film just kept me watching, and that's what started me watching the CBC late night movie show when I was a kid. And from there, I would go on to find foreign films and Universal Horror and Hammer and a lot of other films that would awaken me to new things. That would be the first place I would see a Samuel Fuller movie. It would be the first place that I would watch a film noir. So I guess in a way, watching that cheesy kind of soapy Joan Crawford movie kind of opened me up to films in a way that I didn't expect it to. It was a very different style of film. As for movies that I've watched that I thought were going to be fantastic, that disappointed me, the obvious choice for anybody on here that grew up in my time would be to mention the Star Wars trilogy, the new one. But I'm not going to go there because we know those were disappointments already. But one place I'm going to go where I was disappointed, where a lot of people weren't, and I was definitely in the minority here, and that is I'm a huge Batman fan, and I have always been big on the Batman comics. I grew up reading the comics, and I started reading Batman at an early age, and I went back and read the other stuff. It was the hero that I was well versed in. So when they mentioned that Christopher Nolan was making Batman, I was uber excited. Christian Bale was a favorite actor of mine. I'd seen him in many things, but I especially loved him in American Psycho. So I could kind of see him doing the Bruce Wayne role. He kind of looked the part. Now, when I finally got to see Batman Begins, I thought it was okay, but I didn't think it was great, and I was still kind of on board with where they were going with it, though it was kind of shaky. But when they mentioned The Dark Knight, I was very excited again, because although many people didn't expect much from Heath Ledger, I've seen Heath Ledger in a lot of films, and I knew that if anybody could immerse himself into a role like that, Ledger could. So when I saw The Dark Knight, I was actually extremely disappointed. I didn't see the character as the Joker. Now I can look back on it afterwards and see it as like the genesis of the character that would become the Joker, and maybe he would have become more of that role within another film. Unfortunately, Heath Ledger passed away, so we're stuck with an uneven portrayal of a character in an early concept that doesn't fully get to become who he should be and what he is. But that is also bad planning on Nolan's part. The whole trilogy overall becomes bad planning on Nolan's part. And although I enjoy them for the entertainment that they are, I do not enjoy the fact that the logic in the films are extremely flawed. I mean, logic in a lot of films, you have to take logic away for a lot of films, but in the Dark Knight trilogy it gets really bad. First, Bruce Wayne becomes the Batman because his parents get killed, but when his girlfriend dies, he stops becoming the Batman. He doesn't solve any crimes, and because no major crimes no crime bosses are around because of the Harvey Dent's death. That's the reason not to be Batman. After all, wasn't it the fact that not a major crime, but a small crime done by a mugger was what made you become Batman in the first place? Not a major crime by some mob boss. It was actually, just one of those little crimes that you've just turned your back on for the past few years. But because a cute female comes in and tries and steals something, you decide that, okay, now there's a female in the equation again, I guess I can become Batman again. It just really doesn't stand the test of time. The fact that the Joker's really not referenced that much, of course they couldn't have referenced them, but still, it just doesn't work out. The whole faking his death, yet walking around in Paris. I mean, he's Bruce Wayne, he's a billionaire, he's known all over the world. Faking his death in Gotham, I'm sorry. Walking around in Paris with Catwoman, people would still know he's Bruce Wayne. His face hasn't changed. He doesn't look any different. Alfred Nell must think, Bruce Wayne, you're a complete dick for making me think you're dead. But planning was horrible. If you go back and you watch the movies with any semblance of thinking this is going to be realistic, which was the big claim for fans at the time, it is about as unrealistic as you get. Take an episode of the 1966 Batman TV series. That gets more realism than this does. Because you know what? At least it's not pretending to be something it's not. And at the end of the day, I think that has always been my problem with the Christopher Nolan Batman films. And this is the first time I've actually been able to really, really pinpoint it.
Except this is a video for a contest.
Yes, but that's one of the questions.
Okay.
You asked me what movies disappointed me.
Oh.
What movies were I surprised with? What movie disappointed me? So, there you go. That was my disappointment. As for shoutouts, I do shoutouts on here a lot, and I want to do a different shoutout. Not one of my regulars that I always shout out, because they will get shouted out in every video that I do. And because of that, there are certain people that I really like. And I'll mention them in passing here as well, but I will link some of the lesser knowns that I think need to get people. Blu-ray Anonymous, Logan Toxic, Falagar, TJ Pyramid Night, Creepy Monster Squad, and N-Ready are people that I shout out on a regular basis because they are fantastic YouTubers. And if you're not subscribed to them, I really recommend it. Hip Hop and Rap 71, that's the guy that I found your video by watching his stuff. Hip Hop and Rap has been a guy that I've been watching for quite a while right now. From his genesis, from not being on the screen, just like you mentioned to some of them, to finally getting on the screen. Now, there's been a lot of really cool YouTubers that have come around lately, and it's hard to mention them all. But if you haven't checked out guys like 4K Cinema HD, or Film and Coffee, Joe's House of Horrors, Leroy Green 85, who I talk to all the time, but I never give enough shoutouts to, and that's the truth. Simon Says Movies are all fantastic YouTubers. There are so many more. Film Fatale, and I definitely will not have enough time to link all these people down there below, so I apologize, but you guys will get linked into in other videos. Killer Nerd 75, D Washington 607, they're not just great YouTubers, but they're really cool people. And I'm glad that I found your channel now, and then I can go back and look at the other videos. And honestly, out of the two here, it's not the big prize that I'm going for. It's the second prize. It's Wake and Fright. You did a great job of selling me on that movie, and it sounds fantastic. Right now, though, my 15 minutes of time is almost up, so thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this contest video. Guys, check out James Merchant. Check out all the people that I mentioned there. And for me right now, it's time for tea.